I had been talking to you about creating a podcast.
Mm.
And I was just like, I'm looking to get started. I don't know what I want it to be on, but I just need tips on getting started. And so eventually, you helped me like figure out how to make a intro and all of those things. And so I wanted to do like a video podcast. And so I did it and I created a small business type of podcast where I was interviewing different business owners in the city. And 2 episodes in, my bosses asked, "Do you wanna do this at the Free Press?" And I got hired for that. So I had to stop my podcast, but I was able to get hired for, highlighting small business owners and nonprofits, which is what I do now.
Today's podcast is presented by PodGo. PodGo is the easiest way for you to monetize your podcast, providing podcasters with a flat rate for ad space so you always know how much you get when you include an ad from PodGo. Apply today to become a member, and immediately you'll be contacted with advertisers that fit your audience. That's podgo.co at podgo.co. And be sure to include our podcast, Breaking Through the Glass Ceilings, in the How Did You Hear About Podgo section of the application. So one thing that I'm passionate about is mentorship. It allows me to be able to give back. A few years ago, in GroupMe, a couple people asked about mentorship, and we were on the road to NABJ 19 in Miami. So I saw these posts and I reached out and I said, let's have a conversation because we want to make sure it's a fit. Well, one of those people was my guest today, Miss Chanel Stitt. Chanel is now a writer for her hometown paper, and I'm so excited to have this conversation as we get to go back through her journey, and you'll hear the process and everything that she went through. So, ladies and gentlemen, here's my interview with the one and only Chanel Stitt. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on the line right now, I have a good friend and mentee of mine. She's someone who I'm really proud of. And to be honest with you, if we break down the fourth wall, she's kind of been my therapist for the past 15 minutes before we start recording, as I've been trying to not have a breakdown. But today on the line, I have the one and only Miss Chanel Stitt. How are you today?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm good. Did I say your last name right?
Yes.
So how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Just working from home, the usual, but yeah, it's just been a long year.
Yeah, it has. We had the pleasure of meeting at NABJ a couple of years ago, which we'll get into. But one of the things I've always noticed is you really enjoy journalism and you enjoy writing. When did you first notice was something you wanted to do?
When I was in middle school, we were taking an elective that was based on journalism, and we were just writing and writing all the time. We were learning how to write articles. And when I entered high school, I went to a non-traditional high school, I would say, where you're attending college classes while you're in high school and you graduate with your diploma and your associate's degree at the same time. It's called Washtenaw Technical Middle College. So I went to high school for 2 years at Arbor Prep Academy, but then I switched and I went to Washtenaw. So I was always on a college campus. I was probably 16 years old when I chose my degree. But I had joined the student newspaper and I started, writing for them. And I realized, this is exactly where I want to be. And this is what I want to do. And I decided that when I was 16. So it's been quite a time for sure.
So you went from high school to pretty much a hybrid high school college, which is a community college, before going to University of Michigan Dearborn.
Yep. Yep, I sure
Okay.
did.
I think that's really cool. One of the things I always tell people, it does help when you kind of know what you want to do from an early age. But also the community college aspect. I graduated from Baltimore City Community College, and I'm highly proud of it. And for me, even though sometimes I do wish I wish I went to Morgan right away, but that community college aspect, I think you can agree it's not 13th grade.
It's not at all. And even when I was, still a high school student, I felt, very independent. I had a extreme college experience, I was in student organizations and I was partying with the college kids, there was no true separation there. Um, but yeah, I mean, I loved community college, it really opened doors for me, especially in the community. I got really, really connected with the Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti communities, and I started working for a local newspaper, Concentrate Ann Arbor, and I was freelancing for them. And so I was just building my network around this community college, and it just continued to grow from there.
Okay. So, um, how did you know that like University of Michigan Dearborn was your choice? And what's the difference between that and the one, we all as sports fans and, hear about on TV?
Yes. So people ask me that all the time because it's hard to distinguish, especially when there are three University of Michigan campuses. So we are the University of Michigan is the umbrella school, and we are a branch of that school. So it's University of Michigan Dearborn is pretty separate. We do our own thing. The only connection that I see is through funding and who leads the school, honestly. I don't really I mean, we're completely independent, but our degree in the end says University of Michigan, so I was pretty happy about that. Um, but yeah, I decided to go there. I was choosing between a couple schools. I was looking at Eastern Michigan University, Michigan State University. I knew they had a really good journalism program. But when I went to tour at the University of Michigan Dearborn, I got a really hands-on experience during the it was like a orientation, but not really at the same time. Like I hadn't applied there yet. It was like an open house, I should say. And I went there, and there were a couple of journalism professors who I started talking to, and I was like, "Hey, I'm looking to, go to school here." And they took me in the back in the TV studio, and they let me like be on air, and it was like displaying out into the university's hallway. And so yeah, I really connected with the professors and everybody in that moment, and I was just like, it just seems like I should be here, and so I day and I got accepted a week later. And so I was like, well, I guess it's meant to be. I did get into Eastern. I had a full ride and I didn't take it. And then I just lived close to Eastern. I was just like, I kind of want to get away, Um, and then I got accepted to University of Michigan State University, but they told me that I couldn't come until the spring. So I was like, well, I don't trust myself to take a gap year. Like I just can't handle that. So I decided to go to U of M Dearborn, and it was honestly one of the best decisions I've made so far.
So does that make you have like a dislike for Michigan State since they wanted to make you wait?
Yes. But my family is a Go Blue family, so I've always had that mindset. There was like one year where I was really like go green, and we had a really severe split household there. So but eventually my stuff turned blue again, and I'm happy about that.
What happened? What made you change?
Well, I was going to the school, so I just felt like, people would disown me if I was wearing, Michigan State gear, walking across the University of Michigan's campus and all that. So I was like, you know what? They made me a little salty by, having me kind of start late. So I was just like, all right, it's fine. I'm gonna let this green go. My dad was happy about it. My mom, she doesn't really like sports like that, but she's still a Go Blue person, so, I made that switch to blue.
Oh, okay. So are you a Tom Brady fan by default?
No. It doesn't come like that.
All right. So what was your so I know you went to WDIV as an intern. What was that experience like?
Yeah, I really like that experience. I was in the creative service department, and I got to do a lot of things that I wasn't expecting that I would be able to do. I was going out and doing interviews. Um, I was logging a lot. I spent a lot of time logging stuff. But I think the best experience was, just being able to shadow people and learn how they operate. I got to watch, Coco McAvoy. I got to go out with her 2 days, and now she's at Fox LA. But just those 2 times were just so impactful for me. Sandra Ali too, like, I was, shadowing her. I was shadowing, some of the photographers, John Pompeo, Joe Prince. They were just few people that were really mentoring me in there. There were a couple others, Kelly, Megan, like, they were all just really dedicated to showing me how the way the newsroom worked. Um, so I never really left that department because I just loved it. But I did get to meet a few people outside of there. So I was working with the health department with Sarah and Dr. Frank McGeorge. So I learned a lot of health stuff, and that kind of made me nervous, honestly. Like, I was learning things that I never knew about. And so it was a really good experience for me because then I got that health experience. And I was kind of interested in doing health. But yeah, it was overall a really great experience. It really paved the way for me to find out what exactly I wanted to do.
Yeah, and yeah, you mentioned having that interest in health. So I'm gonna give you a public shout out and gratitude, as I'm grateful as you're always one to really support the In Case You Missed It series that's produced at Johns Hopkins. And something that when you have this idea and like I know it can work, and it went through so much, like I mean that's a whole episode on itself, just trying to get it off the ground and running. But to see you take to it and just notice the little things that may change, and so I really appreciate your support on that.
No problem. Yeah, I thought it was really cool. Like I said, I love, learning about health because I was at Garden City Hospital in their PR department too. So, I was working on flyers and going out and interviewing doctors. And so every time you posted something, I just thought it was really interesting how you were teaching something in such a conversational way, because it's really hard for the public to understand anything health, honestly. I mean, look at us now. So, it's really cool for sure.
And that's one of the things I explained to a lot of the doctors in the meetings. And the thing that really led to this series was, well, two things. One day I'm sitting in the office, and I was standing at the front desk. I looked at my watch and it said 5 things you may have missed from CNN this week. I was like, we did 5 things you may have missed from Hopkins. And the host, Rachel Butch, she's somebody who one day she explained this procedure on it was how they was like trying to, really figure out it was basic sciences and how they was trying to, come to cures and uh, you know, I think it was either cures or detecting breast cancer. And the way she explained it, I was like, wow. So when I thought of the idea, I said, hey, I got this idea and I want you to be the host. And to see how she's grown over the time, I was like, this is amazing, and it's always cool because I struggle a lot of times writing the scripts. I ain't gonna lie to you. But one of the things I always look at is like, okay, well, how's the audience taking to it, and
Mhm.
being able to see it come through, and like I said, your support every week or every couple of weeks as it comes out, is highly appreciated.
No problem. Yeah, I'm always willing to support.
That's the truth. Even with the wrestling show, folks, she'll be quick to retweet. I was like, oh wow, I appreciate it.
Yeah, people thought I knew stuff about wrestling, and I was just like, "No, but I know the person who's hosting it, so I'm here to spread the word." But, it was even weird, like, my social media started filtering in wrestling stuff, and, it was also cool because I was able to connect you with Mike, and then you popped up with Coley, and I was like, wow, I used to work with Coley, so you're
Mhm.
all the way over in a different state connecting with people that I knew. So that was just like a really small world moment. It was cool to see.
Yeah, this community is amazing, especially with like black wrestling fans because
Mm,
a lot of times people are like, wait, you like wrestling, and you get made fun of it or made fun for liking it or whatnot. And shout out to my cousin Britt Waters. She had me on her IG live, and Coley came on afterwards. So like after I got off on watching him, and I was like, oh man, like I need to be connected with this dude.
mhm.
And shout out to him for creating the hashtag Title Tuesday on Instagram. And that's when him and I started connecting. He's coming soon on one of the podcasts. It's just
Nice.
getting it together and put him on the wrestling realm. But so I just appreciate like all the support. The freelance grind, because I see like you've done a lot of freelance work. Can you talk about the grind of it and how you was able to be successful and not go crazy?
That's a great question. I was freelancing. I did a lot of internships and freelancing, and so sometimes I was doing it at the same time. I think the only way that I just do stuff is just by having a lot of organization. I have Google Calendar and Google Task, and I can't survive without it. And so I really keep track of my stuff there. But with freelance work, I was just searching for, different opportunities in the area. And there was this one event at the Detroit Writing Room, and it's like a organization where they host a lot of different writing events in the city. They bring a lot of different reporters in to talk about reporting, of course, and they have cool events like yoga, journaling, and all of that. So anyway, they had an event there, and they were all of the news outlets that have freelancers. So I was able to attend that, and that's how I connected with a lot of different outlets, including the one that I'm at right now. Even though I wasn't freelancing there,
Mhm.
I still became an intern later on. So I just think, there's a lot of opportunities with magazines, with different news outlets, especially the local ones that are looking for freelancers.
Okay. And then, you brought it up where you at now, the uh Detroit Free Press. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that's like your main paper, right?
Yeah, we like to say that for sure. Yeah, there is a competitor newspaper. I don't want to like bring them down in the process, the Detroit News. So we're gonna highlight them and uplift them too. I have a lot of friends who work there. But yeah, I'm at the Detroit Free Press. I was an intern in June of 2020. That's when I started. And then I was hired in August. And honestly, you have a part to do with me getting hired, honestly.
Yeah.
And I don't think I ever told you that, but I had been talking to you about creating a podcast.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I'm looking to get started. I don't know what I want it to be on, but I just need tips on getting started. And so eventually, you helped me like figure out how to make a intro and all those things. And so I wanted to do like a video podcast. And so I did it, and I created a small business type of podcast where I was interviewing different business owners in the city. And 2 episodes in, my bosses asked, "Do you want to do this at the Free Press?" And I got hired for that. So I had to stop my podcast, but I was able to get hired for, highlighting small business owners and nonprofits, which is what I do now.
That's awesome. Now, would you still be able to do it, or they'd rather you not do that right now?
Since it is pretty much exactly the same thing,
Okay.
they said, I should probably drop, doing the podcast, but I feel like I have a much larger impact now because I was just starting off. Like it was just, I mean, 30 people, 30 subscribers. Like I didn't have my platform yet because it was very new. So I feel like I have a little bit more impact by helping businesses and nonprofits get the word out by doing it here. But I am looking to start something new, just because, I like to do my own thing at the same time. And I don't, when I'm only doing one thing, it just feels weird. So I'm coming up with an idea right now.
Well, I'm just happy because obviously that's the thing. We create content and hopes that it can one get us a job, or two make us money on that piece of content. And for you to be able to do something and get kind of discovered immediately, that's
Right.
right there. That's a huge win. I told, and speaking of Detroit, a couple of weeks ago, Tarika was on here
Mhm.
and she was talking about having we was talking about putting everything on your resume, and I brought up how I created the wrestling realm with Dwayne, my co-host, and I told him that's what helped me get hired at ESPN. And for the Detroit Free Press to see this, it's almost like, oh, we didn't realize we have this niche, we need to address this. Well, let's get this young talented woman now. And it worked out for you. What is it like um working for like a paper that you grew up reading? I'm supposed to say watching, grew up reading, and kind of seeing and being a influence, because by you being younger than most of the people, I'm pretty sure you can kind of say, all right, this is why we need to put this focus on video content, on social media content, because they want to reach your audience. So how, like, was it like, working for a paper you grew up watching and having this influence?
Yeah, it's really strange for me, I have to say, because this was a place where I thought I would get to a lot later than what I have now. I didn't exactly know, where I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to stay local, but at one point I was considering moving because I was just like, everybody's saying the opportunities are elsewhere for young people, like you have to go up north, and I really did not want to do that. Or
Wait,
you have to go down south. You said what?
North for you is Canada, right?
No, up north in Michigan.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I didn't wanna go up there, honestly. I didn't know anybody, and, I don't really, well, I do know people, but it's just a whole different environment up north. It's a different place for sure. But, in the Southeast Michigan area, it's just where my network was. It's where, everybody who has taken the time to invest in me as a journalist. It's where they were. So I just decided to stay here, and I started as an intern, and then around that time I was like, oh boy, like I need to start applying for jobs because my internship is ending. Like I don't know where I'm gonna go. And so they ended up reaching out to me after the NABJ convention. I told them that I was applying for jobs at the convention, and they had sent me there as like one of the Detroit Free Press like people to go to the convention, the virtual one, of course. And so I told them that I had stepped into the career fair, and they were like, "Wait, we wanted to get you too." So um, it was just a really cool moment to be able to stay here and create impact here.
Well, I think this is another thing that makes me proud is watching you be able to kind of like let people know your worth immediately. Like a lot of times, there's a few things people say. All right, when you come around college, you don't really have room to, I ain't gonna say negotiate, but you don't have a lot of options, a selection.
Mhm.
This is a narrative people create, and I gotta give a huge shout out to my friend Alexandra Gibalisco, who was on here several months ago. One thing she told me was we went to college together, and she was at ESPN first. When I went to the convention, 9 o'clock it started for the job fair. 9:03, I was in ESPN's line. I
Wow.
came out of that thinking, "Oh man, that felt really good. I feel like I'm gonna be there," but I was still had to like push myself to talk to other opportunities. And she brought up something. She said, "You know why they emailed you at 4 o'clock saying, 'Hey, send your resume here'?" She said, "Because the same way you was watching them, they was watching you, and when they know they got somebody that they want on their team, they want to make sure that they can be first." So a lot of times people don't think college students are, for lack of a better word, a hot commodity. But people do want younger and
Mhm.
people with fresh ideas. Me, I always like when new people come to my team because that's an opportunity for new ideas and expansion and expand new connects. And that's what happened, watching you. And I thought it was the coolest thing. I was like, yes, And one of the things I'm glad that I want people also to understand, especially young college students, there's always this narrative that you gotta leave in order to come back, right? Detroit's a big city. I'm in Baltimore. People think, oh, you gotta leave before you can really get your opportunity. Then you come back home. I left. I went to ESPN, but I did come back home. But my brother Kyle Andrews, say like similar situation. He went. He's working at the Baltimore Sun, a paper he grew up reading. So, what was your parents' reaction? Obviously, you know, you didn't. I mean, lack of a better word, the perfect child. You
Yes.
great. Yeah, own that and make sure they hear this clip. The perfect child. Doing what you're supposed to do in school. You go to, you didn't jump ship. You went the team blue, and then working. You staying at home staying in the state in the area, working at the paper. How did they feel about everything?
They've always been very excited about anything I do. So I kind of got that same reaction where they scream. But they've always supported me through everything. And they had to work really hard to get to where they were. So they really poured everything into me, and it's just been a blessing for sure. But they just every time I write an article, like, they just get so excited, and their friends are excited, family is excited. My Some of my family members have become subscribers because of me. So yeah, Detroit Free Press, I got some family subscribers.
Right.
Um, right. But yeah, I am an only child, so I often have that narrative like, "Oh, she's spoiled." And yes, yes, I am. But at the same time, I also worked really hard. We all worked hard collectively to get to this moment in time.
And that's the thing. A lot of times people say spoil, spoil. As a parent myself of two, you want to make sure you give your child everything. If you have
Right.
a great childhood, you want to make sure they have it was good, but even better childhood than you did. If you didn't, you want to make sure they have a better childhood. So, um, your parents work hard; they invest a lot of love in you, and it's paying off. So keep making them proud.
For sure. Definitely will.
I want to take a quick minute to talk about mental health. As you all know, we are living in unprecedented times, whether it's the racial pandemic or the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, I want to introduce you to Hope Again Counseling Services, where transformation begins. Hope Again provides help for children, adolescents, adults, family, and couples. So give them a call at 410-698-8442 or visit them on the web at yourhopeagain.com to book your appointment. If you are willing to believe, you will begin to achieve, and ultimately, Hope Again Counseling Services can help you receive all that is meant for you. What was it about businesses that made you, led you to want to highlight them? Because with I'm always interested in how do journalists find their niche, whether it's sports, arts, entertainment. You chose
Mhm.
business. What was it about businesses that made you say, this is what I want to do?
So it was actually due to the pandemic. Once I realized how small businesses were kind of falling behind during the pandemic, some of them were closing permanently. A lot of them were closing temporarily, of course, like due to the restrictions. But I realized, looking at statistics and everything, that minority owned businesses were falling behind significantly. And I wanted to help highlight them and give them different profiles, and also discuss the negative things that they're facing with, finding funding. That's been the main thing. But also typical things like construction, like that's been a big deal here. Construction and bills and all of these things. And so I wanted to kind of highlight the good and the bad that people are facing and the things that it takes to run a business. And I just started a new series that doesn't have like a specific time peg. But it's going to be offering advice to different small business owners so that they can learn how to do specific things um, during this time. And my first one was focused on social media, like using social media to promote your businesses and to sell things. And you can start like an Instagram store, like all these things that some people don't know about and could be utilizing. So that's how I just kind of got into businesses. I was really seeing how it was affecting them.
And that's important, finding a need and going in that direction. And that's one of the things I want students who are listening, sometimes you got to go outside, think outside of the box, find that need that, okay, this area needs help, because people a lot of times don't understand how much influence, how powerful journalists are.
Right.
What's been the highlight of your career so far? I know it's just getting started, but I mean, it's still one to write about, one to be happy about. What's been the highlight so far?
Um, I would say my highlight would be I wrote about this business called the Block Development in Detroit, and it's this he's a former rapper. I don't know if he's former or current now. I think he got back into the music business right now. But he started a company that is renovating homes. And he's renovating the homes that are on the block that he used to live on. So he's buying these homes from the land bank and just renovating them. And this is like a full HGTV type of renovation. Like it's pretty hardcore. And so I wrote about it. With a photojournalist Rodney. He brought the story to my attention and I wrote about it, and the story like really took off. Like it was pretty insane, and all the other news outlets were doing it. He ended up getting connected with the mayor, and he has been highlighted with by the mayor, and it was a part of the state of the city the other day. Even though my article like wasn't on there, it was still really amazing to see the impact that just one story that we thought was going to just show what's happening in the neighborhoods, that it would become something big. And I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but there's something really cool that they're about to do soon. So he did tell me what it was, but I don't know if I'm allowed to announce that yet. So we're just gonna keep that on the down low. But it was just really it just showed like how powerful our work can be when you can help connect somebody to letting them have a seat at the table that's not seen as often as we need it to be. So it was really cool to have that happen.
Oh, right. All right. So, you know what this time is. Title of the show is called Breaking Through the Glass Ceiling. And that's the moment where you realize, like, I'm here and I'm really good at what I do. So, what was your breaking through the glass ceiling moment?
Wow, that's a loaded question. I really think that this beat that I have is really important. And I realized since the beat was created for me, I think that it was meant to be. And that was my breaking through the glass ceiling moment where I have created this avenue that will bring faces to the newspaper that we have not seen before. And a lot of those faces look like me. And we just have conversations, we laugh, like everybody who I come across is a really just a really influential person, and they have no idea the power that they have. But when somebody comes and just comes to their door and highlights them, um they're like, wait, like I didn't realize I was like this. When you write an article about them, they're really like, wow, like I didn't, you can say stuff about yourself, but when you see it written down outside of a resume, in a colorful way and having other people talk about you. I think it's really impactful for the person, for the business itself, gaining new customers. It's just a really impactful, new and needed beat that I have.
That's amazing. And that's like you said, that's important, especially considering, what people need and what people are looking forward to, and being able to address their needs. And the main thing is, let's be real, when you said, a lot of people look like you, when they see, okay, we got a black woman, yeah, we're gonna give her these quotes, we're gonna give her these exclusive, or we're gonna look out for her and make sure we take care of her because she's coming out here. And they probably look at it like, oh, she gonna be around for a while too. So we definitely speaking that into existence. Before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
Yes, so you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at by Chanel Stitt. It's ByChanelStitt. And just read my articles. My links are in all of my bios on every social media account. So just check it out.
All right. Chanel, I appreciate you coming on. Like I told you, super proud of you for all the work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Looking forward for more stuff. I know it's gonna be great. And yeah, I appreciate you taking this opportunity out of your busy schedule to come on. As we this is Women's History Month, so I wanted to highlight a lot of women who are doing great things.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I've been excited ever since you told me this morning. So thank you.
No problem. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed that episode, that conversation I had with my mentee, Chanel. Make sure you all check out her work. She's doing a lot of great work. Yes, it's in the Michigan area, but she's highlighting Black small businesses in general. But being able to do this really helps out a lot of people. We talk about the American dream, right? So she is the epitome of that and highlighting the epitome of that. Make sure y'all tune in next week, staying in the journalism world, as I bring on my good friend, Miss Victoria Bragg. Victoria is a journalist in Columbia, Missouri. So I want y'all to check out that episode. Folks, remember, do not let anyone set up a ceiling that you can't break through. See you next week. If you haven't done so, make sure you hit the subscribe button, follow me at Brian H. Waters, and follow the podcast home at B Waters Productions on all social media platforms, except Twitter. This podcast is brought to you by B Waters Productions. You can follow B Waters Productions on all social media platforms. And the music is produced by Hypno Beats. Follow on Instagram at Hypno_Beats with a Z.